From the desk of Azadil, senior partner in the law firm of Azadil, Stelach, and Glood, to Mr. Glood. So, I was just going through the billing files, and I noticed that several closed accounts are still attributed to R. I told everyone that he needs to be purged from the records completely. Every trace of the man needs to be scrubbed away with bleach and bile until nothing remains. This is not just me being petty. The clusterfuck on Chambord left us with one seriously pissed off client. I don't know where R ended up. For all I know, he's a shriveled husk floating in the vacuum of space, but the client's eyes are open. The client's 10,000 goddamn eyes. And when they're done scouring the galaxy for whatever remains of his sorry ass, they will look for any stray traces he left behind, and that includes our networks. The client will look at us, Glood. It will bore into us with a gaze older than the fucking sun, and take us apart one fear, one regret, one terrible lingering shame at a time. I should not have to tell you this. You saw what happened to Eldebir and Sons when they botched that harassment case, and their client was just a shoggoth. Look, I know you and R go way back, and he's your cousin, or whatever. If you want to take his Galaxy's Sexiest Lawyer mug home, go ahead. We need to get it out of here anyway. But whatever you do, get those fucking files scrubbed before a damn elder thing crawls into our brains and reduces them to inert globs of gray, flavorless porridge. Give my fondest regards to your wife, and let her know I'll be coming to the barbecue on Sunday. No +1.
Welcome to the Chimera. This is a role-playing adventure show where a group of college friends and longtime campaign collaborators get back in the saddle. Right now, our campaign is The Old Bones, which is a sort of sci-fi superhero space opera thing, starring a multi-species group of misfits aboard a mysterious and very weird spaceship. And we are starting a new arc this week. So I think it's pretty fun. I think you're going to like this one. Why would I bother telling you that? You're right here. Anyway, we are, as always, playing with a pre-release version of the StoryPath system, which is going to be powering Onyx Path's new Trinity Continuum series of games, but which we have bent and folded to cover the gaps for our weird and particular needs. I am Ben Labate. I am playing Sidra, a living financial instrument, and joining me today are...
I'm Braden Lamb. I'm playing Dang, an energy-eating space rhino bodyguard.
I'm Casey Smith, playing Molly Harrow, a human technophile and gadgeteer, and the captain of the ship Chimera.
I'm Kelly Weissman Asperuth Jackson. I portray Theron Melanthios, a 7-foot-tall heretical catman.
Also with us are Jeff Bard as Raleth, a disgraced lawyer and mech pilot, and Josh Hallbachner, who is running the game and pretty much doing everything else. They neglected to get their intros in on time, and so I am punishing them by drawing attention to it. And with all that said, let's get to it.
Okay, so one quick thing, just to begin with. So Jeff.
Yes.
How does Raleth sleep?
How does Raleth sleep?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
Probably in a bed?
Okay, but there's anything weird or anything?
No, I don't expect there to be anything bizarre.
I kind of always imagined him upside down like a bat,
like
but
I
don't really know why.
I mean, he's kind of bat-like. There's a batness to him.
Batness.
The batasity.
So, just real quick then, shortly before the scene that we're about to do then, when Raleth is asleep, he has an unusually vivid dream, which is basically just at first a vision of a wide open blue sky, and then suddenly the rustling and flapping of thousands of white wings, and then a voice which certainly Raleth associates with Moonin says, "Awaken, Raleth. Be wary. Eyes are opening." And then you wake up.
Oh no! Oh god! I mean, that's an awesome dream. I'm pretty stoked about it. I'm gonna walk over to Moonin, who I often sleep right next to, and kind of check it out and make sure that like there's no ooze or green stuff coming out of her anywhere.
Nope.
And then I'm going to go and get some food.
Some food?
Food, yes. Because after I have nightmares, I like to go get food.
What kind of food do you get?
Like chips and dip, probably. If there's any on board.
Sure, some plantain chips.
Plantain chips will work.
And crack open a dip gourd.
We have a dip gourd. This is amazing.
Can I have one volunteer to be hanging out in an eating area when Roth gets there?
I will be.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
that's your room, actually, isn't it? Then?
So
that's actually Sidra's room. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Sidra's a better choice then.
Okay. All right. What's Sidra up to?
Probably staring at like 4 screens at the same time, but with all the sound muted.
Okay.
What time is it at this point? Like is it like
it's probably early morning.
Like stupid to be up early, or like people are waking up early?
Just like, morning people early.
Okay.
Ugh.
Okay, so first let's have Rolith come in.
All right, so Rolith
snack.
is wearing pants, loosely buttoned up pants. And he walks over to the space fridge. And the dip gourd is on the top shelf, which is a problem for him. But he's pretty used to it by now. So he just kind of climbs up a couple shelves, grabs it, closes the door, finds the plantain chips, grabs that, puts the gourd underneath his arms as he tries to open the bag of plantain chips, walks over to Sidra, puts the gourd in front of Sidra, starts looking at the screens while he opens up the chips and starts dipping them in the gourd.
I take some chips.
What's going on those screens?
Probably like at least a couple of them are rapidly changing channels. One of them is probably galactic stock information, and the other is a sitcom.
Sounds about right.
Hey,
which does she find more humorous?
It changes moment by moment, actually. You're up early.
So Sidra, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
You have 2 good pairs of eyes there, right?
Yeah. Well, one
Roleth
pair.
is kind of looking at her face, kind of checking it out, making sure that there's nothing weird going on there. You haven't heard any whispers recently, have you?
I don't think so.
Like blood running out of the drains or the walls at all?
No, not any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm on the network, so I get little bits of things sometimes, but nothing in the sort of thick gurgling or splooshing. No. And then I take a chip and dip it.
Okay. Now is a good time for Molly to come in.
Okay. So Molly kind of wanders in. Her hair is just this sort of afro that kind of looks smushed on one side because she just woke up, and she's in like a pair of plaid sleep pants and some like wife beater tank top kind of thing, and she sort of looks half awake and just kind of like yawns and scrubs at her eyes and just kind of walks over to snag a chip and dunk it into the gourd and kind of nod like a groggy good morning to Sidra and Rolith.
Are you hearing the blood whispers?
What?
Apparently there's Rolith is hearing some blood whispers, and I don't know if they're just in the front part of the ship or in his head. I'm not hearing them over here.
Blood whispers. That's an interesting. I haven't really seen any, but it would also make the article more difficult for me, so.
Sidra looks at her for a second and then gets up and goes over to start a pot of whatever the coffee-ish substitute that we make.
Molly, hi, good morning. You're up early.
I know. It's early sucks, but where did this come from the new season of Shadows, right?
The what?
Huh?
What? The entire time he's asking what, he's looking at her eyes, just like really intently, just close up, uncomfortably close. Of course, on his tiptoes because he can't quite reach her face. So, just kind of.
And also, his little lamprey mouth is probably a lot closer to her eyes than his eyes are.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's probably true.
Molly's gonna just take a hand and just put it on his snout and gently kind of push him back down again. And just say, Ralith, after we lost Heart, I got to see you again.
Wait, what?
She just kind of shrugged.
Wait, can you say that entire sentence over again?
What? Are you, okay? I mean, never mind if the only thing that shivers is the one right way. She shrugs and goes and tries to get some of that coffee that Sidra has.
He backs up. And I don't know, is there a couch or something?
There's like 12
There's definitely
couches.
couches.
I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of pillows. He's gonna just kind of back up until he gets to a couch, step up on the couch, step up into the back of the couch, grab a pillow and hold it in front of him. And then
so I think this is a good time for Theron to come in.
Oh, yeah. Theron comes in looking bedraggled. He's got one of his blankets wrapped around himself, like around him, but also sort of over his head. And he looks unhappy. The spots are moving across his face in this kind of sluggish way. He walks over to this space fridge and he opens it. He takes out this tray from one of the lower shelves, comes over to the table, plunks it down, takes the foil off. It's some kind of a noodled layer dish. And he just... My sleep did not go well.
Well, the pseudo coffee's almost up.
Hey, Theron. Theron, what's Molly doing right now? I'm not asking what Molly's doing, but what is Molly
Molly's
doing?
just standing and waiting for the coffee, kind of yawning and just looking like she'd rather not be awake.
So I'm going to take the pillow and I'm going to kind of rotate away so that I'm as far away from her as possible in the room, while still trying to get in front of Theron's vision cone. Theron, hey, man, how's it going? Sorry you had a bad sleep. I had a bad sleep too. I think Molly had a bad sleep 3.
Unwell, I was being chased by balls of yarn. I'm pretty sure Nasir Azil was riding one of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she was not cool, was she? How you guys go pretty far back, right?
Yes. She is my... What is that human aphorism? The one that got away?
Yeah, that's a...
I'm sorry, are the balls of yarn a sex dream? I'm not really clear on how all that works.
No, I've already been spoken to about not sharing that kind of dream.
Molly, where she's standing over by the coffee, just gives a thumbs up.
Theron's his eyes look normal-ish, right? Like as far as Theron goes, nothing weird
They
there.
look like a Catman's eyes.
All right. Listen, Theron. Hey, man. You wanna come back and check out Moon with me? There's a thing I need to show you.
Okay, yes. Let me just finish my lasagna.
Is it Monday? Yes.
Dang shuffles in, blinking sleepily, something under his arm, sits down at the table, puts a desk lamp on the table, points it at himself, and turns it on.
What does it look like when Dang eats?
His horn gets darker, and the hump on his back starts to sort of vaguely swell.
Oh. So with pillow in hand, he's going to slowly approach Dang and where he's at on the table. And I guess keeping one eye on Molly, who hopefully is still looking at the coffee, is going to get behind the lamp and kind of look at Dang and go, "Hey, Dang, how's it going?"
Dang points at his jaw, which has no machine on it. And then he points at Molly.
Yeah, that sucks. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. Look, we can just communicate via eyes, right? And he's just kind of moving his head around back and forth, checking out Dang's eyes. They haven't been bleeding at all or anything, have they? Blink once for yes, blink twice for no.
Dang brings a tentacle up to one eye and sort of wipes at it. It's a little crusty, but he shows his tentacle to him. It's just crusty.
All right, well, I'll take that as a yes. Hey, Theron, you done with that lasagna?
Yeah, Theron has put the dish, the tray in the sink, and he's gone over by where Molly is to get some coffee. Good morning, Captain.
Yeah, morning. Hey, Theron, so, did you remember to record the dream down of the formerly this time was diagonal, but now it's gone sideways?
No.
Captain,
no.
Did you forget to take your language vaccine booster shot? Again?
Oh, shit. Are you guys, every little thing is consequential, but only when you're not paying attention?
Oh, you're all hearing this. Oh, that's good.
The lamprey mouth is open. I'm gonna skitter back to my room and get into Moonin.
She pours Theron some coffee. And some for herself.
Obliged.
Dang, never mind.
Dang waves and turns back to his light.
Hey guys, I've patched through Chimera's communication systems. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, good. I don't know how to say this, but I think Molly might be channeling a Shaga. But I'm not totally positive, and I don't want you all to die. So just, if you guys want to come over into my room and we can maybe sort this out.
Rowlith, calm down. I'm not channeling anything. It's just that half-formed thoughts are still better than fully formed lies.
Yeah, no, see, that's not how Molly talks. That's directly from the Shaga's mouth. So we really need to nip this in the bud while we can, because it just gets worse from here. Trust me, I've seen this before. It usually happens. I also had a bad dream last night. Moonin was telling me that the eyes were going to open, and that means that some mistakes that I made in the past might come back to haunt us, and this might be one form of it. So, yeah. I got into Moonin just in case, it was just me being paranoid and the bracelet wearing off, but I don't think it is, because I'm still hearing it. You guys are hearing it?
Did Ashogath make the captain forget her vaccine?
What do you mean vaccine? Is there a vaccine for Shogothism?
No. Remember the shot she takes so she can speak to us?
No, I don't remember. Wait. Man, it's really early in the morning, isn't it?
Yes.
Nod.
I mean, technically,
yeah.
We're not on a planetary cycle right now, so it's in the middle of the constant, ticking of time and space and not morning or evening, technically.
Technically.
Okay, so everybody did hear that, and it was just her vaccine, and there's no Shoggoths here, right?
Oh, yeah. Symbiosis and parasitism can only be differentiated in retrospect.
I'm going to need some coffee.
I'm going to bring you some, and, You guys can sort out whether this is a horrendous interspatial monstrosity or not. And I'll be back in a minute. And I pour out 2 mugs of coffee and head out the door.
Okay. So here's the thing about the language shots. So there's a certain amount of this that everybody needs to get before it kind of sticks, right? And for a lot of spacefaring races, either there's something, that they've done genetically in the past, or, there's somebody that they can reliably get them from if they're going to be going out into space or whatever. But for anybody who's kind of a little bit less common in the overall galactic civilization, this is a little bit more awkward, especially for humans who were just barely kind of getting integrated into the galactic society when Earth vanished, and who, aren't really in a lot of places of power or influence. So unfortunately, in order to actually get a version of this that's genetically compatible with humans, there's really basically one gray market person that you can go to. So if you need a booster, that's what you're going to have to do.
Oh, so it's not just like she forgot. It's like we got to go replenish our stock, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That's pretty important.
Yes.
So who is this gray market guy?
So what you're looking at is somebody who operates in the Bazaar district of the Last Resort, who goes by the name of Dr. Bitters.
Nice.
So is there anything else you guys want to do before heading over there, or do we want to get this taken care of?
I mean, I'll probably take Rolith's coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to drink it while I'm still in Moonin.
Okay.
I'm just gonna wait for a little while. I need to come off this. That was mean. Was that planned? Was that whole scene planned?
Planned-ish.
Ish.
that actually went much better than I thought it was going to, even. So
it went really well. I liked it.
Okay.
Dang's gonna see if his Jabberjaw is fixed yet.
I mean, Molly's, that's probably half of why she's so tired. She was up working on it through most of the night. So she'll, after she finishes her coffee, she'll go up to her room and bring it down. And it'll be pretty much the same, except now he's got a tongue he can stick out if he wants to.
Okay.
Ooh. Coming up in the world.
Also, his voice is entirely different now, so you're going to have to completely change that up.
Okay, he snaps it on. Massive mounds of marmalade, mistress. He fiddles with it a little bit. Oh, I didn't like that at all. Let's see, what else? That's okay. It'll take some getting used to. I'm gonna go figure this out.
Molly is, I guess, opting to not talk at the moment to keep Rolith from having any further mental breakdowns.
So Dr. Bitters, then. Do we all know him?
You have probably interacted with him before. Anybody else who Dang probably has been to this place with Molly. The rest of you probably not.
Cool. So Molly knows this guy. I'm assuming this is where she got the original.
Yeah, you've been to him
vaccines from
a number of times before.
What's his specialty? It's just human medicine?
Questionable medicine.
Okay.
Okay. So
yeah.
Presumably, you kind of hop on and get moving towards your destination here. So the place that you're having to head towards is kind of a small planet-sized location that goes by the name of the Last Resort. It's built way down at the far end off of the tail of the spine. So, basically about as far as you can get before you run out of galaxy. So this particular place is built on top of the ruins of a planet called Azag-18, which is basically like an amethyst purple, slightly like gemstone-like planet. Originally, round, like a planet normally is, but some, great force basically smashed open half of this planet. So now, from the angle that you're coming in on, it basically looks like about half of a planet split in half, roughly like if you took a rock and smashed it, part of it off or something. And then most of what used to be the other half of it is kind of spread out as kind of a little asteroid field with these like pale red energy strands that kind of join them all together to kind of keep them from floating off. So it kind of looks like this, frozen waterfall in a sense of like these rocks and energy coming off of the side of this place. And so on the split part of the planet's surface, there's basically just a whole bunch of different buildings, like a big kind of dome-ish thing, like kind of keeping everything secure. And then all of these buildings that are kind of like stacked toroids, like a lot of rounded surfaces, weird curvy patterns, kind of like if you were going to build a whole city like with like a cactus aesthetic. And, you can see from outside that it's kind of split in three, and there's just kind of a little featureless black dome at the very center, and then three different areas that all look pretty clearly distinct from one another outside of that.
So do we know where we would find Dr. Bitters?
Yeah, so one of the three districts of this place are each, kind of a little bit, they each kind of have their own like group that kind of runs them in their own deal. So the three areas are the cathedral, the bazaar, and the garden. And you know that Dr. Bitter's office is somewhere inside the bazaar area. When you show up there, you can park the ship somewhere. You can enter in. There's kind of a small number of like public entrances to this that are big, giant like areas you can walk in. And then inside, it's kind of this, labyrinthine, like open air market kind of with some buildings off to the side and everything. But basically you come in, it's a big open area with a lot of like very normal kind of like touristy like type shops and food and drink and all these other things that are, kind of like on the up and up. And as you kind of go further in and navigate the labyrinth, it gets kind of narrower and darker, and the stuff that people are selling kind of gets more and more sketchy the further you go in. So, to get to his place, you're looking at about, probably about a third of the way in. So it gets way sketchier than this. I mean, it's not that bad. And so you come up to the outside of, his office here. And there's basically just kind of like a small building that looks kind of like, it's kind of a house, but a little bit run down. And there's a sign tacked over the doorway that says, "The medical, legal, and financial practice of Dr. Orange Bitters."
I thought it was going to be Dr. Muddled Bitters. So, is this like is there like a door to knock on, or is this like a curtain to push aside?
There's a door.
So Molly knocks.
Hello?
She's, can she open the door?
Yeah.
She's going to open the door, peek her head in. Is the doctor in there?
Yeah, so the ground floor of this house has all kind of had the walls knocked out and just some pillars put up to kind of just make sure they can still stand up. And the area has actually been set up basically to kind of accommodate this multiple, practice type thing. So there's one area with, a whole bunch of filing cabinets and like a big, ornate wooden desk with like all kinds of like little electronic devices kind of strewn out on top of it. And then another part where there's basically a bunch of those kind of like curtain off things for like exam beds that you like see in a hospital. Mm-hmm. And then like a waiting area in the center that's kind of like right between these two segments and like chairs and everything. And so, you can kind of hear some like, clack, clack, some kind of like weird noises coming out from one of the curtained off areas. And once you open the door, the doctor's like, "I'll be out in a second."
So she goes to take a seat in the waiting room for now, see what outdated magazines there are to flip through.
These magazines are really old. I mean, I think probably like a lot of these are getting to the point where they would be vintage almost. Like, some of these, like, predate, like, the Earth, like, first contact. Like, that's how old they are.
Mm-hmm.
You would guess that he just realized that he needed to have magazines in the waiting area, so he just, like, found somebody nearby who had some and bought them and put them in here. He's never changed them out. They're probably the same magazines that were here last time you were here.
So she's just going to kind of flip through and, I mean, it's a long shot because, Earth is in the boonies, but she's just going to see if there's any articles that happen to mention it. And if there are, she's going to keep that magazine.
Did you take us with you, or are you going solo?
I think anyone who wants to come is welcome to. She's just going to, like, head there, but it's not like she tried to keep anyone from coming with her. She just isn't going to, like, wait.
I mean, I'm absolutely going with, because this entire place is my jam.
Yes. Yes.
And Dang's going there.
Yeah, I figure we're all going. I mean, I was
Yeah.
This waiting room just got super awesome.
Yeah. So yeah,
And super small.
So yeah, so there's a guy in a mech now sitting in like one of these tiny little waiting chairs. And
Dang is flipping through highlights for larvae.
So yeah, so there's probably one of these magazines, So like I said, it's before the first contact. So there's probably one that's got like one of these columns. It's like 12 up and coming like finger worlds or something, and it's like these are areas that are on these are like boony planets that are in far-flung areas of the galaxy that, like, we think, like, somebody there might actually get smart enough to contact galactic civilization soon. Like, and then just, like, little splash pow kind of, like, little things about, like, the local culture. And they're like, all humans have 5 fingers on each hand. And, like, stuff like that,
Yeah. She's totally going to steal that one.
Okay. So after a second, after a little bit of kind of like hammering and sawing and then kind of like slurping noise stops, there's kind of a pause, and then somebody slips out from, around the curtain. And so Dr. Bitters is, basically kind of like almost if you had like a sunflower that was like animated. So it's kind of, plant tendrils kind of forming like a body and kind of limbs and everything. And then there's like a big flowery face, up top with basically, kind of things that look like eyes kind of filling in, in the middle here, but not really, a lot of expressiveness like the way that like an animal face usually would have. And he's like, welcome, it's so good to see you. He kind of looks around. He's like, Molly Harrow. Am I right?
Yeah. Hey, Doc. I guess my vaccine's due for a booster, and now when the world burns, we all breathe ashes, so...
He kind of reaches up and kind of like rustles around in like the petals of like his own flowery head, and he like pulls out like kind of a dried leaf that has writing on it, and he kind of he's like, okay, I'm checking your chart here. You have not been keeping up on your vaccinations. I'm sure that we left you quite a few messages asking you to come back. We try to take care of our patients as best we can, and I know that it gets busy out there in the galaxy, but
yeah.
In the time that he's taken to say that, I'm running his entire financials.
Okay. All of his financials. All the financials that he has.
On the walk here, I've just been, like, peeking in on every business and transaction just out of, like, intense curiosity to see how it's all fitting together. But now that we've stopped in one place, I'm seeing how he webs out into this whole weird market structure that this place has.
So I guess what you would say about Dr. Bitters is not so much that he has finances as that finances have him. So he has a wide variety of different, various and sundry types of debt that he currently owes. And, a whole bunch of entanglements that basically just seem like different opportunities to kind of funnel small amounts of money between those to keep them all like topped off and, keep anybody from actively coming by and like breaking his branches. But, he, his business is kind of a little feast or famine, right? Like he is clearly like a pretty good provider for some things that it's hard to get anywhere else. So he does get people who turn up here, and he can usually get people to pay pretty well. But, then in between, it's kind of like scrounging for more clients, trying to find somebody who wants to, give him a shot. So, so that super cheery personality always has kind of like the edge of like concern underneath it.
So how have you been, Doc? You had a chance to check out that tanning salon I told you about?
Oh, and he kind of like hits you with a vine, I guess. He's like always the jokester.
Is a tanning salon the equivalent of massage parlor for these guys?
No, it's a buffet.
It's a restaurant.
No, yes, it definitely is. I'm calling it. It's canon. Oh man. Okay. So he kind of goes over somewhere and he's kind of like rummaging around in kind of like a cabinet or something, and he finally pulls out, kind of this humorously large syringe, basically. And he's
this might be the reason she doesn't keep up on her
probably, yeah,
boosters.
Yeah, he's like, okay, he's like, okay, it's not going to hurt at all. I'm just going to count down from 5, and after 5, I will give you the injection, right? And so he kind of like, wraps one vine kind of like up your shoulder and like around your neck on one side up to like kind of the ear on the other to kind of keep your head in place, because then he leans over and he puts the syringe right up against your temple. He's like, okay, 5, 4, 3, he sticks it in. And, every time this happens, you just, there's just kind of this like weird queasy feeling. It's like, this kind of like DNA like strands or whatever are kind of like getting injected directly into your, your cerebral system. And he kind of, fills the whole thing, pops it out, whips out like one of those iodine cotton balls with one of his other, vines, kind of rubs it on your forehead, sticks a little like leaf bandage over it, pats it, and he goes, "You're all good." So, I know I tell you this every time, but I'm just going to repeat the spiel here. There's always, we always hope it's never going to happen, but there's always the chance for side effects here. So I have to ask that you stay for the 3 hours that it takes for this process to complete itself in case anything goes wrong, because otherwise, we just won't be able to help you. And we wouldn't want that, right? We wouldn't want that. You're one of our best customers. So, just, you don't have to stay in the office, but just, don't leave the planet just yet.
Okay, Doc. Yeah. Whoa, this is a he loves me not kind of deal. I am not feeling the love today. Fuck me, that really hurt. All right, well, it kind of turns around and looks at everyone. How am I sounding to you now? Normal, not normal, normally, unnormal?
There's a distinct lack of Shoggoth, so I think we're okay.
You're all good, Captain.
Keen, peachy keen. Okay, well, while DNA sort of sifts its way around my brain, and I try not to puke, we want to go shopping or something?
Yes.
Okay. So, given what I kind of described about the area, like which direction are you guys going to try to go in here, I guess? There's kind of like in and out in terms of like whether you want to get more sketchy or less sketchy.
So it's like to the nice side or to the sketchy side?
The sketchy side is way more interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with Sidra's sketchy words.
Okay. So as you kind of head in there, anything in particular you guys want to kind of try to keep your eye open for? Anybody here who has something of, light to moderate sketchiness that they know that they might have an interest in buying?
I mean, Molly's always keeping an ear out for just, weird science shit.
Yeah, and this is a good place for that. There's always a lot of kind of like one-off, fell off a starship kind of like weird half-functional technology that people are kind of selling here. And, some of it is just junk, but some of it occasionally is kind of interesting either to like learn something from or to like salvage for some other purpose. And there's a lot of that, especially in kind of the area that you're in. Because again, it's mostly stolen merchandise, but like nothing about it in particular is like fundamentally illegal anywhere, or at least in most places probably. So it's, it's a good kind of thing to sell someplace like this where they definitely don't care where you got what you're selling. Actually,
as we start to move into the sketchier areas, Sidra will stop and take sort of a long look at Munin and then say, wait here, and then disappear into a shop and come out about a minute later with essentially a big oversized cloak. You are very conspicuous here.
What color is this cloak?
It's a sort of dark reddish brown. It's actually got a very fine, almost like brocade patterning on it, but from a distance it doesn't look like much. It only looks expensive when you get close.
Okay.
Is it like actually expensive, or is it like fake expensive?
It was pretty expensive.
Okay.
It's probably something that like on its home world would have been very expensive, but this is like an artisan that's far away from the people who would really value who would know the value of the product, so they have to sell it for cheaper than they would.
Okay, I happily put it on and cloak myself up.
Dang's gonna talk to Sidra, sort of aside. No, I don't want you to think that I am personally in the market for this, but I would like to find out where people would find Qualian Empire artifacts, like memorabilia and stuff. I kind of just want to, keep tabs.
I could keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, that definitely seems like the kind of thing that you could find around here, probably. Yeah, again, like almost anything that's kind of like quote-unquote archaeological is something that you'd be able to find around here. Silsey ruin stuff, obviously, for clear reasons, it's going to be a little bit, lighter on the ground, because people tend to be much more protective and possessive about that. But for all the other kinds of places around the galaxy, you can find somebody who has something here. If you kind of ask around a little, somebody will probably direct you to, a curiosities shop, just down the way a little that is likely to have something, kind of on the order of what you're looking for.
Okay. I don't necessarily want to show my face around there. I just want to just kind of want to keep tabs on if anybody's taken a real particular interest in that kind of memorabilia.
I can probably do a little, I have to assume there's some kind of network here that has just some basic buy, sell, online marketplace where people move things, from stall to stall depending on their interests. So I might tap into that and see what looks good and legitimate.
Okay, yeah, so there's actually kind of a 3-tier, digital marketplace here going on top of, the physical marketplace, right? So one layer of that is, basically the World of Warcraft auction house. It's really just, almost kind of commodities, kind of bulk priced and moving in kind of a purely digital kind of way, and one of these things where they're probably even all in a warehouse somewhere, and unless somebody really needs it, they don't even go collect it. They just buy it, and then they sell it to somebody else who needs it. And only when you get to the actual person who's going to use it for something does somebody actually go and get it out of a warehouse. So there's that. Then there's kind of a Craigslist type level where there are kind of individual listings of, various, things that people, for whatever reason, feel like they want to promote here and that they can promote, because obviously some of the sketchiest stuff is not going to show up there. And then underneath that, there's kind of a betting layer where you can do things like place wagers on the price that other things are going to go for, or how long it's going to take some galactic authority to arrest somebody for selling a thing that's listed on the Craigslist list, or whether they're going to get away. And so there's this kind of constant betting market type stuff that's going on there, and all these motes getting thrown around about this meta analysis of the market, basically.
So I'm definitely watching that in the back of my head like the entire time we're here.
Yeah, this is definitely something that Sidra would find pretty entertaining, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to poke around there for essentially the most legitimate looking artifacts of the Empire of Quay.
Okay. The most legitimate? Do you mean legitimate as in real or legitimate as in, like, okay to be sold?
Real.
Okay. Then, yeah, you're probably about, the equivalent of, like, 5 blocks away, inwards a little bit. There's a little shop that has these along with other kinds of, like, mementos and, tchotchkes from, like, variety. Like, they basically focus on old, like, no longer, like, extant empires and civilizations and stuff. And so they're kind of like this oldie time kind of thing going on. And they just have a whole bunch of junk. And, a lot of it is not really that interesting or unique on its own, but it is all basically real.
That sounds like a place to look.
So, as you guys are kind of walking around in this area, I think almost always, like, Theron is going to be the person who notices stuff going on first. So you're gonna hear, I imagine, basically just kind of a commotion down one of the streets that's maybe like if you're on a street and then there are, like, side streets and then there's, like, one parallel to you that you can see down some of these, like, broad, like, boulevard side streets, but it's kind of like an S shape to get to anything over there from where you are. You kind of hear, like, a commotion that seems to be kind of undirected and moving, down this parallel line in the direction that's going to take it past where you guys are.
When I hear the sound of some sort of tussle or whatever it is, I move towards it, not like at a run, but quickly.
Okay. Anybody else doing anything as you see Theron suddenly kind of break rank to head over here?
Theron, where are you going?
Fight!
Fight? Where?
I'll probably follow him pretty closely.
Yeah.
I might have an easier time moving here than he does, so it shouldn't be too hard to keep up.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually.
Well, I also have a power for it, so the crowds actually don't slow me down at all.
Yeah. So, as you're getting closer, the sound, the commotion starts getting closer and closer, and you hear all the kind of things like people getting knocked down and screaming and, like, shouting at people to watch where they're going and, like, things crashing and breaking and all the other kind of commotion that you expect when somebody's getting chased through a large open-air bazaar. And so the first thing you see is this person. So, they're in Ardori, leaning on kind of the purplish end of the spectrum with a reasonably large kind of number of, like, somewhat conspicuous tattoos. Really long hair that's completely unkempt, just kind of, like, flying out somewhere, and clothes that look nice, but, like, poorly fitting, like, kind of like somebody bought something, recently, but they don't really, like, know how to integrate it into their wardrobe or how to wear it correctly, or they haven't had it tailored. And so he basically is just charging, like, full speed, pushing people out of the way. He seems like he has at least some kind of, like, cybernetic enhancements or something that's helping him with this, because he's moving a lot faster than you would normally expect somebody, certainly who looked like him, to move. Not, like, way outside of, like, normal bounds, but, like, like a very effective, sprinter, or, parkourist, I guess. And he's got basically just kind of a little shoulder rucksack that he's kind of carrying. And so he goes by. And then shortly after that, you see a group of various specied individuals, all wearing the distinctive uniforms of the XS, all charging after him, shouting, "Hey, get him! Stop that guy!" So, there's probably about 12 of these guys right now, and they're kind of, keystone copping it after this guy. There's a couple big ones up in the front who are basically just, shouldering everybody aside so the guys behind them can kind of keep running. and they're clearly all just like trying to chase this guy down and catch up with him.
I would like to trip one of them as they pass by.
Okay. So, it's like I said, there's probably about like 12 of them, and they're probably approximately like 4 lines of 3 in terms of the shape that they're running in. So where in that sequence do you want to do this?
So the front person at the outermost line closest to me.
Okay. So the front guy on the line, on the front, the guy in the front line, the 2 outermost people of that are basically they kind of look like big land whales, basically. They kind of like these enormous heads and big shoulders. And they have like hands, but the arms are short, and like it kind of looks like if you took a flipper and like kind of split it up along the bones that used to be fingers. So they still look like super useful hands. And they kind of like waddle, but they can waddle really fast. But they're very top heavy, so this actually works out really well for you. You could just stick it out, and he just he comes crashing down, basically just smashes an entire stall.
Wow, man, he got beached.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're all moving at a pretty fast rate, so the 2 guys basically right behind him just basically like crash into him in the process. The last guy kind of has enough warning that he just kind of hops up and basically clambers over, all of his compatriots to kind of keep chasing after. But these 3 are all down, and everybody else, it seems like they're on pretty strong orders. It seems like to kind of like not get distracted. So they're all, if at all possible, just kind of trying to keep going. They're not stopping to help anybody you knocked over.
Okay.
Hey, guys with eyes and ears there, tell me if I can head them off.
Okay, I'll tell Dang where the runner was going. Right, so he went that way.
Is that someone we care about?
Okay.
Theron?
I mean, we got 3 hours to
I'm
kill.
curious. I have an inquisitive nature.
Hey, you know what they said about curiosity in you, right?
Oh, boy.
Okay. Sidra steps into the crowd and immediately disappears. In a way that's kind of unusual. Like, she moves through the crowd as if they're not really there, because she seems to know exactly where everyone's going to be stepping. Like where people will be concentrating, all of the attention that people will be paying in the marketplace. So she's just going to follow that guy and ideally sort of find a place where she can pull him aside where they won't be seen.
Here's the thing, right? So this guy's kind of running through, running through the streets here. The way that it's all constructed here, like I said, there's kind of this weird, like, mazy quality to this. So very few of these streets, like, run uninterrupted for a really long way. They all kind of tee off and dead end and turn and everything. So for one, like, there's, you kind of have to run some weird route to get anywhere that you're trying to go. And for another thing, there's a lot of doubling back and everything. So, like, the best bet is going to be to try to spot where this guy is most likely to go and then take a different path to get out in front of him. So I'm trying to think of, like, what type of role would really kind of simulate the, I'm basically looking for somebody to kind of, like, have enough of a tactical sense of what it looks like to try to evade pursuit around here to kind of, like, come up with an idea of where he might wind up.
Yeah, and is that analysis?
I've got a specialty in tactics under analysis.
I think that's probably the best then.
Okay. I'll make that roll. I probably won't be able to get there as well as Cedra can, but I'll point it out to her. So a specialty does just
auto success if you roll at least one.
Okay. So then it'll be analysis plus what's cunning? Yes, does that sound right?
That's good to me.
Yes.
Okay. Successes are 6 and above, 7 and above, right?
7 and above.
7 and above.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay. Yeah,
Plus an auto 7.
So you've had the chance to kind of, like, check out the maps on the way here. Plus, you've been to this, this area before, so you probably have at least a decent, on the ground picture of how this all looks. And based on how fast the guy is running and, kind of how willing he is to bowl people over and everything, you would guess that there's probably, maybe 3 different routes that he could take. One of these seems pretty low likelihood, and the other 2, there's one kind of choke point where either one of them would, probably have to cut through. That's, maybe 4 blocks off. So, if he's going there, there should be a way to kind of sneak around to that spot.
Okay. So go down 3 blocks to Murder Street and then take a left at what looks like just a broken piece of metal, but is actually Burnt Bacon Alley. Go down there to the end. You'll be right there.
Okay. I do that.
Okay. So we'll get back to that in a second. Is there anything anybody else wants to do in terms of mobilizing or interacting with this or with the guys that you knocked down while Sidra is going to try to intercept the guy?
I would like to do a Top Gun flyby of these guys.
Okay.
Just, do it upside down, give them the middle finger, and then kind of fly the other way, the opposite way of the way that they're running.
So just to verify, you're flying up above the rooftops of the open air bazaar, flying over the mercenaries who are charging through the road and flipping them off with a giant cloak hanging off of you that was intended to keep you less conspicuous. Do I have that all right?
Yes. Except I'm holding the cloak in such a way as to not block my hand. I don't want that obscured. Right. I want that to be very front and foremost. But then, yeah. Otherwise, it's exactly what I'm doing.
All right then. Okay, so you can kind of do that. Anyone else before we get back to Sidra?
Molly might walk over to one of the fallen land whales.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. I mean, they're still pretty down there.
The guys who are knocked down are pretty knocked down. Yeah.
So
they'll get up again in a second, but you guys have plenty of time
right.
to stop them from doing that if you want, basically.
So she's gonna crouch down and just be like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?"
The whale kind of looks up at you and just goes
vaccine still hasn't kicked in.
And so the two guys behind him, are more generally, humanoid sized. And so these guys basically just crashed into the backside of this giant whale. So they kind of got knocked backwards and they're, on the ground, kind of stunned a little.
All right. She'll try talking to one of them.
Okay, yeah, give me an opening there, and then we're going to cut over to Sidra for a second.
So what do these guys look like besides more human-ish, humanoid-ish?
One of them kind of like a red lizard, and then the other guy, he's probably just another Ardori, actually. So
okay, does she have to pick one, or are they kind of falling?
You can kind of push them together if you want.
Well, she's just gonna kind of walk over to where they're getting up and be like, "Man, whale ass, am I right?"
Okay, so getting away from that. Okay, so Sidra, you follow the directions that Dang has given you, and you kind of cut through this weird little, not super obvious alley and kind of wind up in this other spot, which is an intersection of basically kind of 6 different pathways and roads of varying sizes. And you can kind of turn your head to see that, just as predicted, the guy who was in the lead there comes around one of the corners and kind of bounds over a few people, and he's heading right towards where you are. And it looks, because he's kind of coming around this corner, it looks like he's far enough ahead that none of their group, especially because they got kind of disrupted a little, so they got further behind because Theron tripped the one guy. None of the excess group has actually gotten around the corner quite yet at the point where he's coming up towards where you are. But he hasn't seen you at all, so you're just another person in the crowd he's intending to push past.
Yeah, I'm actually going to step out directly in front of him, just facing him, and making eye contact, and just point directly down the alley that I just stepped out of. And definitely standing in a position where he would have to run straight into me without a major course correction.
Okay, what skill set do you want to use to kind of non-verbally convince him here?
That is a good question.
Presence, persuasion?
Persuasion? Yeah.
Yeah, and would that just be a persuasion?
Yeah,
Persuasion plus presence, probably.
presence, yeah.
Presence or grace?
I'd say
I mean,
presence.
he's making a snap judgment. I would say presence.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's not my best roll.
Sorry.
Let's see if it works. Oh, what do you know? 3 out of 3.
Nice.
Yay!
Okay.
Well done.
All right. So you kind of stare him down, and you kind of have this like almost like subliminal like eye conversation where he's kind of looking at you, and he kind of has to make this call, right? Because he's like, well, on the one hand, you know, the Excess are not really a subtle organization. They don't tend to be the people that you call for like infiltration missions or any other kind of stealthy thing. So the fact that you're very clearly not wearing one of their uniforms definitely suggests that you're not with this whole, like, you know, gang that's directly chasing him. But on the other hand, like, you know, he's getting chased and it's not necessarily just them that are causing trouble for him. So he has to kind of like think about, does it seem likely that you're doing this because you are going to try to give him a hand or because you're going to just like beat him up and take what he has? And, you know, there's kind of a little bit of back and forth. He kind of stares you in the eyes. He kind of like moves his head back and forth a little bit. He also kind of sizes you up, and he can kind of tell that, like, you know, you can move pretty quickly. So he knows that, like, it's not going to be great for him if he tries to just push directly past you. And basically at the last possible second before he would run into you, he jerks to the side and darts down the alley instead.
All right. I go with.
Okay. You basically slip around the corner, like, just before the Excess actually make it around their corner and start charging down this road towards where they think that he would be going. You know, he probably ducks down a little bit, kind of ducks behind basically like a dumpster or something, and you guys can kind of watch/hear like them run right past the alleyway, not noticing it, because that, you know, that thing that's kind of blocking it off.
Oh yeah, by the way, Sidra, remind me to tell you sometime why it's called Burnt Bacon Alley.
I will make a note of that.
It's because it smells like burnt bacon, you see.
That's not what it smells like now.
Times change. I'm catching up with Molly, I think.
Okay, so we'll cut back over to Molly. So these two guys are both kind of dazed. They're kind of staring up at you, like still not quite fully functional. You know, neither of them is kind of getting up to go anywhere. It's pretty clear to them, like, once they got tripped, that, like, whatever's going on with the rest of the group that they were with, like, they're out of the chase right now. So they don't really have a big incentive to really, you know, try to get up and going again yet. So, talk away.
So what'd the little guy with the knapsack do to you?
So the Ardora guy is just kind of staring at you, and he seems, you know, pretty scowly. But after a moment, the lizard guy will kind of look at you and goes, "It's just a contract. It's always just a contract."
Well, what's this contract about?
We got to get that rucksack.
Why? What's in it?
You think they tell us that?
Dang's gonna step up and just do a little presence persuasion. I think you want to tell us about it. I'm gonna roll for that.
Mm-hmm.
And intimidation.
Okay.
And 4, 5.
Okie doke. So tell me what you're kind of doing here to intimidate him.
I guess Molly's standing in front of him. I've just sort of quietly circled around behind him, and I'm speaking right in his ear.
Okay.
With a little bit of crackle on one tentacle.
Okay, he kind of winces a little bit, and he kind of sighs, and he kind of like flicks his like tongue out to kind of like smell the air. Then he sighs again. He's like, "We don't know what's in it, but there's an Akashic signature that we're supposed to follow. That's how we know that he has it. That's why we're going after him."
Well, that's interesting. I'm trying to think. Oh, Sidra's not here. I can't ask her to do a thing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could get that would be useful from these guys, but I'm thinking not. So I think Molly's gonna say to Dang, okay, I don't think these guys know much more Let's just make sure they stay where they are.
I can do that.
And you can get the specific signature off from them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They've got something that they're watching for, so you can get something, to let you equivalently kind of know what that is.
Okay. I don't think... Can I get, I guess, Akashic as one of my unnamed goggle spectrum?
Sure.
All right.
I will forewarn you that Akashic is going to be a lot weirder than any of the other ones that you have. So, just be aware of that.
That just makes it more fun. Okay, awesome. So she's gonna snap on her goggles then and see what she can see in that spectra that matches the signature that was described to us.
Okay. So, you're trying on the Akashic spectrum for the first time, and
yep.
You're getting the full psychedelic experience here, basically.
Okay.
Unlike the other two spectra, the other major spectra that you look at, there's a certain amount of kind of ambient stuff going on all the time everywhere with this.
Right.
And kind of universal background noise. And the result is that you basically get this tangerine dream kind of weirdness going on around you everywhere. And it's a little bit difficult to really focus on individual things at first. You're still kind of trying to get used to it. But in your case, you do have this this specific thing. So, basically the hardware of your goggles even can kind of filter a little bit to kind of pull this out. And basically what you're going to see is out, 5 blocks away or whatever, you see it's about, something maybe about a foot by a little bit less than a foot. It looks like it's kind of rectangular basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see it's kind of got this really active thing, and it's kind of glowing and pulsing in kind of this weird way, and kind of a little unsettling. And you can also see in various places, around things that seem like they have kind of an echo of the same kind of thing, and then something that's not exactly the same, but clearly kind of on a similar wavelength coming out of Moonin.
Ooh, interesting. So she's gonna kind of distractedly watch Moonin as Rowlith flies her back and forth with his birds flipped up, and then kind of give her head a shake and say, I'll deal with that later. Follow me, dang it. I think it's this way. And she's going to head towards the sort of pulsing cuboidal signature.
Dang goes to follow and then turns back and does a little, what do you call it? A little, just a little jerk of the torso. Ugh. Just to tell him whatever. Yeah.
They flinch a little and then kind of watch sullenly as you continue to move away. Okay, so let's cut back over to Sidra.
Hello, new friend.
He kind of looks at you suspiciously, and he's like, "I need to get away from these people."
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good at that. We've been ditching them for months now.
Sidra, can you give me this guy's name?
Oh, hey, what's your name?
He kind of looks at you for a second. He goes, "I go by a Portho."
A Portho. And what's in the bag?
He kind of keeps looking at you. He's like, "Not yet."
Hey, Sidra.
Help me out.
Sidra. Does he have any also known as AKAs?
Is that your only name? Do you have other names?
That's pretty much it.
He seems to think that's the only one.
Does he have a last known, P.O. box, home address, anything like that?
Address?
I mean, yeah, he does have an address. He lives on a planet somewhere. He's got a small apartment. He wishes it was a little bigger. His rent went up and he's not really thrilled about that. But
it's furniture from Space IKEA.
It's just an apartment. He doesn't at least by the obvious immediate financial trail off of him, he doesn't have anything that weird. He doesn't seem to be like working for someone, the way that you would, like, if he was getting like really actively paid to like do something right here, like it would look different than this.
Okay. Oh, you're not a professional. Oh, that's interesting.
Hey, Sidra?
Mm-hmm.
Can you get him to sign this document for me? It can be digital, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so what's it say?
It's an offer to work pro bono for him. And then there's also an attachment, an injunction against the excess, for the excess to remain at least 1,000 feet away from him at all times. And then as soon as it's signed, I'm going to go ahead and file it.
Okay, so I present him, I suppose, like a data pad with that, and I explain, my weird lawyer friend has a real unhealthy rivalry with the excess, so he's willing to help you out for free, essentially just to piss them off. I don't entirely understand it, but it's probably in your favor. He's pretty good.
He kind of looks at you for a second. He thinks.
Alternately, we can just give you back to them.
He holds up a thumb and he puts it on the pad.
I press send.
Awesome. I press send. And then I'll land in front of them, the guys who are running still, and tell him, if I can, right? If I still have eyes on them, if I'm still flipping them off, flying back and forth above them, I will eventually land in front of them and say, who you're running after is now my client. I have filed a protective order against him, or with him, for him, against you guys. So I'm afraid you're going to have to back off at this point. He's under my protective custody.
Okay. They're going to kind of like argue with you a little bit on that. But, they've been briefed, right? Like you've never seen any of these specific guys before, but like you're in their files. And there's kind of like a level where they know that it's just not worth it's not worth picking this battle. So, there's some like grumbling like going on as they're kind of like working on the degree to which they're going to kind of accept that and like what they're going to call back to their bosses about it. But like they're kind of stopped right now. So you can kind of, keep them there.
Yes! I just got my XP.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of still standing in the alleyway with this guy. Are you communicating anything kind of back to him about this?
Yeah. It looks like you're clear for as long as that injunction holds. So, what did you guys want to do with this guy?
Can it buy us at least 30 minutes?
Yeah, I think he's that good.
Then we have to go to the bar.
Okay.
So, anyone who's been to the Last Resort before, which is Molly and Dang, and then probably Raleth as well. I don't know if either of the other two of you have. So, right at the very center of this, where the three different districts meet, is a bar that's stylized as Le Fin de Univers. So, and like, if we want to get into the metaphysics of it, it's like the translation stuff will, for any given person, like identify like the language that they actually speak, and then find one that's close enough that people are used to seeing like phrases in it that they kind of sort of understand the meaning of, and render it into that. Like, it's very like semantically like challenging to like get this set up correctly when you're like actually applying for the trademarks and like, getting the sign up on the wall, but you can do it. And so everybody kind of gets that effect from this in one way or another.
You expect me to draw this thing?
So that's that big, that's the big black dome in the middle.
Oh, okay. Big black dome. I can do that.
And yeah, it's very, very nice and straightforward. And if any of you have been in the bar before, and here I ask, basically what each of you thinks about that.
I think this is where Theron got his job working on Fingerroll.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Okay. So you're definitely aware that the thing about the bar is that there's some kind of effect which basically keeps you from inflicting violence on people inside.
Ooh.
So it's very heavily trafficked because it's a great place to do certain kinds of business without worry about like the level of, I guess betrayal that you could otherwise get like out on the street. Not that there's no potential for betrayal, but it's only like very like distant, like emotional types of betrayal. It's not like actual knives.
Those guys that had planned that whole object sale in the first episode for this bar, they wouldn't have had the problem where we stole their shit.
Yeah, well,
Well, I think Dang loves this place.
So I'm guessing if we're following the trail, we're also going to end up at the bar?
Basically what he's saying to Sidra here is, he's like, I want to go to the bar because if he can, like, he didn't have a chance to get away from them fast enough that he thought he could, like, do that. But now, if you buy him time, even if they can, like, blow up this injunction, like, in 20 minutes or something and start coming after him, like, it should give you enough time to get into the bar. And once he's in the bar, they can't, like, capture him or take his stuff by force. So, like, it gives him, like, a certain ability to hide out.
Unless they saw John Wick 2.
I'm going to have to see John Wick 2 before our next session, I guess.
Did you get my PM, Josh?
Yes, okay. I did. I'm sitting on it for just a moment.
That's fine.
All right, so I'll walk him to the bar and also just, like, radio the others about the basic agenda.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we're all going to meet at the bar, right?
Okay.
Yep.
So on your walk over there, probably about 2/3 of the way back, this is when Theron starts getting a little bit of the buzzing, in his head. Like, that kind of, basically presages that Emporos is going to tell you something in just a moment, but it kind of builds up. It's not out of the blue. It's kind of like, and then, like, the, like, weird mechanical insect speech kind of comes out from that. And it basically, it first says, like, the time is not yet right. And then there's, like, a pause. And basically you kind of know from history that if you're getting something like that, like, it's telling you about something that's going to be relevant, but not actually, like, commanding you to deal with it yet. So it's kind of presaging you, I guess. And then it just says, she is here.
She is here. Okay. I don't have any special background on who she is, right?
Well, you could,
there are some she's. No, I can already guess at some possibilities. I'm just saying that there's not a dead-on... Okay.
Nope. But, basically this is the kind of thing where you're kind of expecting to get, like, more details soon, probably. Okay. So you guys are going to meet up at the bar?
Yes.
Okay. So you come in, like I said, it's this kind of big, dome area. And so the inside is really kind of like, it's low, soft light. There's kind of a lot of big, shadows. The way that the place is kind of built from an acoustic sense and everything, it kind of dampens sound, and there's no, like, ambient music or anything in most of the area. So it's kind of quiet. It's a place where you can kind of sit and, like, talk in hushed tones very effectively. There are there are tables out, but they're very spaced far apart so that, people at different ones of these aren't really, like, interfering with one another or anything. There are areas on the outside with, booths with curtains, and, you can recognize that these are kind of like, electronic surveillance blocking curtains, basically. You can go in there, block out sound and any, at least base level electronic devices that would kind of listen in on you so that you can have a slightly more, like, private conversation. And it's always, at least half busy in here because, there's a lot of different reasons that people would come here. And there's a variety of basically wait staff, all in these kind of, like, weirdly, like, fancy, like, classic high class club type outfits. Like, something that, like, if it was the Earth version of this would kind of, like, have this, like, 1940s vibe, I think, probably, or 30s. A bunch of them are kind of walking around, holding trays with all kinds of weird, impossible drinks on them. And at the center, there's kind of a big column that rises up to the top of the dome, and there's there's like a bar that runs circularly around it, and it's big enough that like there's plenty of room for 4 or 5 collections of all the booze that they need to serve here, like around it. But when you come in the front door, you get a look at kind of like the front part of this, and so this bar is a little bit famous for the guy who runs it, who is a gentleman by the name of Egan Krogh. And so you see him because he's there, like he is almost always there, polishing a glass. So he's about 9 feet tall, grayish skin, super muscly, broad, kind of like a major underbite with 2 kind of big tusks coming out from his lower jaw, totally bald, eyes kind of glowing like a light greenish color a little bit. And he's just sitting there basically polishing, a glass. He's in like this very fancy, like white tie, like barkeep uniform, which looks a little bit ridiculous because he's this gigantic, like muscled guy, but it's perfectly tailored. So like it looks as good as it could possibly look on him. And so this guy is basically like kind of like an old galactic VIP. He was known as being this like solo mercenary. He's been in all kinds of like huge battles and fights all the time in the past. Hanging on the bar behind him is this big stone axe that he would fight with. And it's just kind of hung up, about 12 feet up from the ground. And no decorations or anything on it, just like literally just the axe is there on the wall. And, this guy was doing this for like what seems like a really long time, hundreds of years probably. And then at some point he basically just decided, I'm settling down, I'm opening a bar. And here it is.
Does a sweaty guy with bug eyes dash into the club at this moment and go up to him and say, Egan, you've got to help me, Egan.
No. Like, Casablanca was yesterday, like you guys are on different theme night.
So I have a question about the whatever effect of this place. So you can't harm each other. Does it also prevent like harming yourself?
That's a good question. Let me ponder that a little bit because I did not think about that in those terms exactly, and I have to make sure that I'm happy with my answer. But okay. That is a good question. I'm going to think about it.
Also, not to make this a recurring thing, but Dang knows Egan. I've got him listed as my contact.
Of course you do. Yeah, no, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so you're here in the bar. This Aportho is with you. Once you guys step inside, like, you're pretty flexible to kind of go wherever you want in here. Again, because, like, nobody's going to be able to come in and start a fight with you. So, what do you want to do?
Let's get a table.
Okay. Are you gonna pull rank for a VIP spot here, Dang?
Yeah. I'm gonna just sort of, make myself seen by Egan and sort of nod at him, and just ask, "Hey, can we get a good table for us? We got some important business."
He like turns around and he sees you. And he's like, as I live and breathe, it's Dang. And he kind of, one arm comes out in, preparation to do basically an elaborate, like, asymmetrical hand tentacle fist bump routine thing that he's done before. It probably is about 17 different steps. And, like, you can really only do if one of you has an arm and one of you has a tentacle. So this whole thing happens.
There's some little light crackles.
And then basically the last bit is basically just the fist and the end of the tentacle bump, and there's like a firework that blows out from it. Like it literally
there's actually an explosion.
Yeah. And you pull yourself away. And he goes, "What brings you back to my neck of the woods?"
Oh, we're just getting my captain topped off here with some language.
He kind of laughs a little bit.
Yeah, mammals.
She's certainly not the first person who's gotten stuck, like, killing time in this bar for that exact reason. So
It's a good place to kill time.
yeah, I mean, you got to spend 3 hours here. There's a bar, like it's just like getting stuck at the airport.
And you're not allowed to kill anything else.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh.
Wow, that took me a long time, but
But we
that's good.
we had a little run-in with the XS.
Yeah, that'll happen. Occupational hazard, right? He's still polishing glass.
We're helping out a guy, just being good citizens.
Okay. Well, I can always hook up an old friend. And, by the way, just note, like, I can't really do this, but this guy, of course, has, like, a really low gravity voice, kind of on that level, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to kill my throat if I try to do that the whole time he's talking.
Ben, can we do that in post?
I'll see what I can do.
Maybe.
I'm thinking of him
as
being like the Planet Hulk version of Hulk.
Uh-huh.
That is very close. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, put the tusks on it and that's pretty much it. So, he can hook you up with one of these, curtained off, kind of VIP booths. At first he's about to send you to one and he kind of actually like looks out at, who's actually here in your party again. And he kind of thinks better of it. And he's like, I've got to send you guys to the Husky section. And he kind of gestures to a different part where the booths are all built about like 2 times as large so that, a guy in a big mech can fit in there.
Mm-hmm.
So like 3 of us need kiddie chairs.
Right, like
basically.
some of us need boosters and some of us are just being very well accommodated.
There's probably a little like human-sized ladder built into the side of the booth seats there, so you can climb up into it, and then you're just kind of like sitting there,
like Edith Ann.
Yeah. So, maybe you have to like climb up onto the table and sit there or something. But anyway, it's a really big booth, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone, this is a Portho. A Portho. This is. I'm sorry. Did we want to give him our real names or fake names?
He kind of like looks at you a little funny when you say that.
Well, I mean, what did he give us?
Seems mostly real.
It was real enough.
But I'm not really worried about him.
He kind of waves uneasily.
I'd say real names. It's not like we're hiding from anybody.
Except for the people we're hiding from, but...
You're not really hiding from them. You're just kind of taking a break without dealing with them for right now.
It's not like we can ever like be inconspicuous, so...
And it's not like you guys can arrange to do literally anything where you don't run into the XS, so like...
Yeah, our physical descriptions are probably more important than our names in terms of identifying us to authorities, so...
Yeah.
And as we've seen, trying to cover that up on this particular escapade is not really going to work too well.
Mm-hmm.
So, once we're all sitting down, Molly's just going to put her goggles back on, and as inconspicuously as possible, just get a closer look at Moonin with the Akashic spectrum on.
Okay. Looking at it closely, I assume that you're kind of distractedly, like, looking at this a little bit while, like, the beginnings of conversation are kind of going on here.
Yeah, while everyone's doing introductions and things and kind of looking at each other.
So there's kind of there's kind of 2 pieces of this, right? So Moonin itself, it seems like, is kind of vaguely infused with whatever type of energy this is, in, kind of a general way, not really super high concentration, but kind of spread throughout, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's also, you kind of look into it and you see Roth in there, and there's a concentration right in his head.
Oh. And now we're getting somewhere.
And there's like some wavy doodlies that are like connecting those 2 together.
Okay.
Wavy doodlies?
Okay.
Yep. It's a technical term.
I just wrote down the technical term.
Okay. Yeah, so.
Okay.
Well, you're all here. Talk away.
All right. So, so Molly's going to just sort of snap her goggles back up onto her head after she gets that look, and she's got kind of a, like, stupid, doofy grin on her face, like she just, saw, like, the best episode in the season of whatever show she was binge watching, and just you kind of compose herself and look over at their new friend and be like, okay, so you gotta tell us, man, what's in the bag?
Kind of like, he kind of looks around a little bit. He kind of verifies that you're all kind of safe. And he unslings the bag. He kind of puts it on the table, opens it up, reaches in, slides something out. It is a legal pad. Now, I say this. It is a legal pad, but it's not an everyday legal pad. You look into it and you stare into the heart of the universe itself. You can see stars being born and dying out. You can see like swaths of power like cut across the suns and things going supernova and blinking out. All this is kind of going on, but like in the paper, like not like, it's not like you stared into the monolith or anything. It's just, this is what is happening like inside the thing that you're looking at. Obviously, like I mentioned, it's got this very strong Akashic resonance to it. And at the top, printed in this, very finely calligraphed, is that how you say it?
Calligraphed.
Calligraphed, hand stamp printed on each page of this. And it says, from the legal desk of Ella Persephone. So, Rolith, you hear this, and at first, you're not really sure why. You hear this and you're like, what's going on? It sounds familiar. It sounds familiar. It sounds familiar. You're not sure quite what. And then all of a sudden, your vision goes completely black. All your senses cut off. And you flash back to just like a moment of memory. And what you see is, yourself in Moonin, way across from you somewhere, another mech that looks exactly the same, but this one is black and red. And the sky is 10 million eyeballs and mouths opening and closing as a shriek louder than any sound you've ever heard before screams out. And then you're back. So, Ella Persephone was the opposing counsel in Shambor versus Sathagria.
Oh, son of a bitch. God.
Amazing.
I'm not being served, am I?
No. So, so this is actually something you're familiar with. So this is Akashic legal paper. And basically the purpose of this is that by, filling out a contract on this paper and, kind of putting the right, magical energies into it, you can bind at least anybody who has like a certain amount of connection into the Akashic sphere, like on a fundamental level to following the contract. So like it gives it this whole extra layer of magical enforcement that isn't possible otherwise. And so it's not like a crazy thing. Anybody who was working in kind of your field of galactic law would have had access to this. Right. But it's really friggin' expensive. People guard this more jealously than like a doctor guards their prescription pad for kind of the same reasons, right? There's a lot of value for somebody else who gets away with one, and it's expensive to replace, and it can do really bad things to your reputation if people use it in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also a lot of like laws and regulations on how they're used. So like right. If somebody uses one on your behalf, like it's a really, really bad situation.
Right.
Okay.
So you can see why somebody might be coming to look for this.
Yeah.
What are you doing with it?
You don't really want to know.
No, I totally want to know.
Yeah, I would also like to know.
Do you know Ella?
I don't. I have no idea who this person is. I've never met them. I didn't even bother to look them up. I thought that might get me in more trouble. I was doing, I'm not a criminal like by trade. Okay. Like I'm not like just doing like illegal things all the time, like for a job. Like that's not, that's not me.
You're a good person, busy things.
Look, we're
tough
all good
life.
people.
Let's cut to that part.
So basically the story that he kind of lays out here is essentially that he was doing kind of, the equivalent of a drug buy, picking up something illegal, but not like crazy bad illegal for like personal enjoyment purposes. And he basically had somebody give him what seemed like the wrong package. Like somebody who was dealing in a variety of things, like slipped this to him either on purpose to like get rid of it or accidentally because they got their inventory mixed up. And the next thing he realized is that he's getting chased down by these guys who are coming to beat him up and take it. You know, it's the excess. So he's not really like, oh, if I just stop and I give it to them, like that's obviously going to work out great for me.
You did the smart thing here.
Molly just wants to pick up a piece, like the first page, and turn it over and see what like the next page looks like if you turn over the first one.
I mean, you know, it's a different vantage point on the center of the universe, but it's the same kind of thing. And the pages are all blank. Nothing that's in the pad right now has been used.
This is really cool.
So what were you planning on doing with this?
I figured I'd move it, right? They want to get it. They don't really care about me except in as much as, like, I have it on me and they want to get rid of me. But if I can get rid of it myself, somebody else can take it off somewhere, the heat comes off of it. So I had a buyer lined up here. I managed to sneak away from the planet, you know, where they were chasing me last, come here. Somebody was supposed to pick this up from me. They didn't show. So now I'm here.
Who was your buyer?
You know, it's a guy named Olimi, some, 2-bit vendor in the Bazaar area, basically. Somebody who deals in these kinds of, like, weird, questionable things like you were seeing before.
I'm running that name immediately.
Yeah. I mean, he's a criminal. I mean, he's a criminal fence, basically, but he's an honest criminal fence.
He's probably dead.
It seems like a safe conclusion.
So, what was he gonna give you for this pad? I assume it was like reasonable, like normal rates, like 5,000 motes or so. I mean, I know I wouldn't pay more than 5,000 for this.
Oh, you're saying what was he going to get paid for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of like thinks for a second. He's like, it was going to get me 750. He said he can move it fast.
750 motes?
He nods.
Yeah, well, you got ripped off there, my friend.
Well, I really got ripped off. Nobody paid me for anything.
No, you still have it, right? So you didn't get ripped off completely, but
I guess that's true.
But we can give you 5,000, take care of the headache, and take care of your financials at least for a little while, right, Sidra?
Oh, yeah, we can probably do that.
Okay.
I think we can swing it.
He kind of stops and thinks. He's like, how long do you think it'll take for the heat to come off me if you do that?
Probably pretty well. I don't know. The XS has long memories. I've already gotten involved. They might hold it against you. But we could say that you fired me because you thought that I was an incompetent representative. That'll make them feel better. And then you could say that we ripped it off you, or that somebody else ripped it off you, and then that'll be fine. I can file all that paperwork on behalf of you. Not a problem.
He's a little skeptical. He's like, how long? I mean, obviously they have people here all the time, but like this, delegation, how long do you think till they leave?
Oh, they won't leave.
He kind of stops and is like, how many days can I go without eating? Because here's the thing, right? Nobody can do any physical violence in here. But one of the trade-offs there, because he doesn't want people to just move in, right? So the bar does not serve any food. And you're not permitted to bring any food in. So you can hide out, but only for as long as you can go without getting too hungry and passing out or dying.
Huh.
So
Interesting trade-off.
He's kind of doing a little mental inventory here. He's like, okay, I had a big lunch. I can manage it.
You'd probably be able to get rid of him faster if you just didn't put in any bathrooms.
He's still looking to move the alcohol, though.
Yeah. He wants to serve a lot of drinks before people leave, is the thing.
How many olives what's the
Yeah, it's like I'd like a martini with 27 olives, What I don't know, how many olives, how many brined olives can one person eat, eating no other food before they just can't do it anymore?
Quite a few.
Vin's been there before.
Look, why don't we just get this guy off planet?
Yeah, we can do that. I don't have a problem with that. The longer he's associated with us, the harder it's going to be to extricate excesses hard on for him, though.
Yeah, but they won't know where he's gone. And they'll know that we have the item that they want. They're also... I mean, I get the feeling they don't like to spend a lot of time on dead ends.
Yeah, no, they're I don't know. It depends on what they think the guy has. This is actually... Ella was a really famous lawyer, and anybody who, is in our particular business would want to get this back to her. So yeah, that's probably all they really want to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't chase you over 5,000 modes. Not like this. I mean, that would be silly, right? Yeah. How about I'll start filing that paperwork, and I'll let you know how that goes. I'm going to have you sign some things, though.
He seems like he's basically okay with that.
Okay.
So as you're kind of like bringing out the paperwork for him to sign there's like a knock on the curtain. A big hand reaches over and kind of slides it open. So it's Krog. Can I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah, what do you need?
Are you still working? And, he kind of means, are you still like available for, a gig, basically?
Yeah, we're always up for a little bit of fun.
I have some acquaintances who are looking for something here. I obviously am a little busy, but I thought maybe you guys could be able to help them out a little bit.
You're being uncharacteristically delicate here, Egan.
I'll let them handle the details.
Are we done with Aportho here?
I mean, unless there's something else you want to do with him, but you've got the thing that he had,
mm-hmm.
and you basically have, ways to kind of deal with him here. And he had a big lunch, so if you have to go do something else and then come back, he's going to be okay. He can just hang out in the bar.
Mm. All right, let's go.
Okay.
Check it out.
Okay.
Cool.
So he kind of he takes you out around kind of basically a spot on the opposite side of the bar, and takes you over, goes up to another one of these booths, kind of does the same knock. Some, voices like, oh, come on in. So he opens it up. And the first thing you notice, and Molly, this gets your attention almost immediately,
mm-hmm.
is just the fact that there are two people here who are visibly human.
Oh, gosh.
And then the second thing that you notice is you look at the outfits that they're wearing, and you suddenly realize not just that they're human, but exactly who they are. So there's two individuals here. First guy is kind of short, broad-shouldered, like indigenous American features, like Southern on the relatively darker side.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of wearing something that you might call a Western outfit, including like a gaucho hat, like the man with no name. But he's got like bands of red, yellow, and green with like patterns on them, like on each arm and like on his belt, and a set of antlers coming out like from the hat.
Huh.
Okay.
And then the other one,
like
a woman,
attached to the hat, or like coming out of his head?
No, like coming through the holes that are in his hat so that he can put it over his antlers.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever. But the antlers are coming from his head through the hat.
Maybe the hat was woven around the antlers.
It's made of unstable hat molecules. And then the other person is a woman, a little bit just a shade lighter than him, but all you can see of her is just basically the mouth area. She has this all black outfit that covers everything else, including her eyes, and there's this like pin fine like silver tracery in these kind of geometric patterns of like circles and angled lines and everything that kind of like covers the whole thing and kind of glitters and sparkles a little bit in the light as she moves. And so after you look at them for a second, and this is kind of like, in a certain sense, like if somebody, you know, just whisked you over the table and you suddenly realized that like you were sitting with two celebrities, right? Like,
Okay.
It's not the first thing that your brain was expecting. But what you realize is that these are Jackalope and Inkling, who are two members of famous Earth superhero team from North America when you were on Earth called the New Wave.
Mhm.
Okay. So Molly's gonna kind of, you know, walk to the table not really expecting that, and she's gonna stop and you just blink, be like, holy shit.
Hi, you must be Molly? The woman says.
Yeah, you must be Inkling?
We don't see that many other humans these days. It's good to meet somebody.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's, you know, a little bit of home.
Yeah. So, we wanted to talk to you about a job.
Okay.
Let us tell you about it. Freeze frame. So I've got two kind of follow-up tags here for what's going on. Little credit scenes. So first thing is we see a shot inside, you know, some kind of like generic, creepy biological lab, you know, laboratory, right? There's all kinds of people in like full body suits, and you can't see any of them, but all the suits are different shapes because it's all these different, you know, types of aliens like doing experiments, and there's beakers and Bunsen burners and, you know, big vats of moss that they're kind of like putting little things into and all this kind of stuff. There's all this kind of biological experimentation, right? Going on in all these different spots around, you know, this lab. But, you know, we kind of see the camera like zoom over to one area in the center where there's this big glass tube that's clearly kind of like more prominent, important than anything else. And it's got kind of, you know, one of those like red incubator lights at the top.
Ooh.
And sitting in the center is a big, you know, like, you know, probably like 2.5 feet long golden egg.
Ooh.
And then the camera kind of turns around and we look up to a vent that's overlooking it, and just like the faintest hint of two eyes opening up. And then the grate starts to come off the wall.
Okay.
Okay? So that's the first one. And then the second one is just, you know, there's a ship docking here somewhere, and some people are getting off. So you know, there's a few other people that we don't care about, and the camera kind of zooms in on this this one person, you know, kind of a humanoid race, very slim body, like a bald blue head, weirdly rounded and kind of smooth features, wearing basically like kind of a very formal, very, you know, serious, not, you know, not ostentatious, not like fancy, kind of like business suit, standing in, you know, like a very sharp, tall position, holding a briefcase. She kind of looks around for a moment. She kind of gets the sense of what's going on, looks in one direction, starts walking that way, you know, makes a follow me gesture with her hand over the back of her shoulder, not looking behind her. And then floating through the air behind her is a mech, black, with red highlights.
That's it this week for the Chimera. As I'm sure you know, we're a pretty new podcast. And the best way that you can help to support us is just to help us reach new listeners. Reviews on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher really help to increase our visibility on those platforms. But any kind of word of mouth is great. Tell your friends, post to a social media thing. You can even share the trailer that we put together, which you may have seen, or maybe you haven't. But that's up on our Twitter page at ChimeraPod. It's the pinned tweet, so it's right at the top there. And you can follow us there, or you can follow us also on Facebook at ChimeraPod, or on our webpage, thechimera.space, which is a Tumblr, if tumbling is your thing. And you can also reach us directly at itsthechimera@gmail.com if you have anything that we need to know. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Okay, if we want to talk XP real quick, we can do that, and then we'll bounce.
Okay. So I thought we'd just list our XP goals. So for Molly, her paradigm, which is the kind of long-standing campaign goal for each character, is that she's a starfaring scientist, which means she gets XP every time she discovers a new way of putting things together, which can be physically or like figuring something out. And then the two goals, the arc goals that I'm using are suggested by Brayden: get another team member excited about a bit of Earth culture, and then from myself, hybridize something.
So I don't think you've hit any of those yet, but certainly there's a lot of potential for several of those.
Yeah.
So I guess just going across our list here. Dang, his paradigm is protector. I don't remember exactly what the words are, but it's something to the effect of, protect somebody at cost to yourself. Something along those lines. The XP goals from Casey is wear a tuxedo. I chose that one mostly based on the title of this episode, thinking that maybe we'll go to Space Las Vegas at some point.
I mean, you're in a bar where everybody's wearing white tie. Like there's still a chance.
Listen, things moved fast. I didn't have time to change, but there's opportunity yet. And the next one, which I gave myself, is Defy, a direct order from an authority figure.
Hasn't quite come up yet. Sidra?
Sidra's paradigm is called Student of the Galaxy. She gains XP if she deepens her understanding of the peoples of the universe and how they work. And the two goals for this arc are one from Kelly that I've actually had sitting for a while. Show us something she's emotionally invested in. That one I'm still working on. And from myself, form a significant relationship with an NPC, parentheses, not necessarily positive.
Theron's paradigm is Student of Emporos. He gains XP whenever he actively pursues a commandment from Emporos.
That's got a chance to come up very soon.
Yes, at long last, actually. He has not been getting paradigm XP this whole time. So it'll be exciting possibility. Mm-hmm. He has one holdover from the last arc that he didn't complete. From Vin, which is Theron is influenced by traditional Elori understanding of gender roles, which should be interesting. And then I picked another one that someone else had supplied, I realize now, which is not actually within how it's supposed to work, but I think hopefully y'all forgive me. This one from Casey. Share one of the dreams he records in his dream log, which he actually just completed.
So I didn't actually even realize that was you doing an XP goal. I thought you were just riffing on the scene.
I was riffing on it. I was like,
so
this
perfectly.
is an optimal opportunity for me to riff on the scene.
Yeah.
And also complete my...
It was, and I totally didn't remember that when I was like, I'm going to start this off with sending Roth in with a crazy, creepy dream. So that was perfect. I'm really happy with how that worked out. Okay, and so Roth?
So my paradigm is on top of the world. Take experience whenever Roleth increases the scale of his reputation. I don't believe I've done that yet. I'm trying to, though. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what my other two goals are, and I'm trying to find the sheet, but everything's really laggy right now. I can't find it.
Solve a problem using the law with the law in caps, and overcome a physical confrontation with words instead of lasers.
And I think he
Got
absolutely already did that. I mean,
Yeah, so I think you definitely hit the second one.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending on how we define a problem, you may well have hit the first. So that's pretty good. And then for the team, the paradigm goal is Lander did something that advances our understanding of the Chimera or its crew. Not really yet, but there's still a chance. And then make a connection with a new contact resource provider or even a friend. And so there's definitely that definitely is going to count for something by the time that this is over.
And these refresh at the end of the like story, not the end of the episode, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so we have at least one more episode.
So I think it's good to review these so
to
that
get
everybody
these
can
in.
remember to try to take opportunities to hit them if they see them come up.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. Well, there we go. I guess we'll leave it off there, and next time we'll pick up with the job that these guys want to talk to you about.
Ooh.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
We love you.
Yay!
This podcast has been brought to you by Skype, but just barely.
Yeah.
Skype for when you sometimes want to hear the other people on your call.
Intermittently.
Occasionally like robots.
I'm pretty much all the time on my end.
That might just be me.
Skype. Did for you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to go on the B-roll for sure.
Yeah. For real.